Hey, again. I know I said the theory video would be the last this year, but damn it, I wasn't fully prepared, I guess, because, Something About Knuckles 6 came a lot earlier than I thought, and the finale comes out in December, so I have to cover those. Hopefully, Something About Knuckles 7 comes out early December, because my big video comes out at the end of December, and it would mess up the schedule. Anyways, before we fully begin, I just want to say that in 2024, there will be a retrospective video on There's Something About Knuckles, because Mashed really pushed the boundaries with Something About Knuckles this year. But for now, let's focus on Part 6 today. Part 6 has been a pretty long-awaited episode, and now it has finally arrived. Part 6 not only gives us so many hints to the future of the series, but also builds off of a ton of things. So let's just get into it and dissect it piece by piece. Part 6, or what I'll now refer to as Episode 6, continues directly after Episode 5 with the cliffhanger at Mountain Base. Tails and Amy gets into an argument and the scene feels very conflicting, because on one side the possibility of Tails being Signature Tails rises with his new demeanor drastically changing between the previous episodes and now, but on the other hand, Tails could have just been growing impatient and this whole situation continues to affect his mental state further. After Tails and Amy go back and forth, we pause to look at our heroes grouped up. You can see there are 3 of the main characters with their heads overshadowed and the other 3 are just worried. I think this one frame has some extra layers, showing that not only these 3 are the key players to the story, but also showing how Tails, Amy, and soon-to-be Knuckles have been corrupted. Amy in the state seems to be normal and not her version from Something About Amy, but she is definitely looking like she's at her limit. However, Amy is backed up with the 3 characters behind her, suggesting she isn't alone, while Tails is on the right side all alone, showing that he's not like the others. Of course, there's Knuckles too, just watching in silence, but we'll talk more about Knuckles as we go on this episode. Amy gets pissed and attempts to kill Tails, while the background in this one shot looks a tad bit similar to Something About Amy when she threatened to kill Secret Tails in the Everywhere, but in that situation the color around Amy was inverted. Also, I believe that this was the first time in Something About Knuckles where Amy's eyes are red, but alas, Knuckles prevents Tails from being killed. However, Knuckles is still suspicious about Tails. As Tails explains why the killing the Kaiju won't result in someone else getting the curse passed on to them, we see the super menacing shot of the Kaiju's true form, or so we think. But anyways, it's time to go real deep into the origin of this lovely image. We'll go even deeper later on, but this one frame which I picked out looks lovely, which is part of a 3-man team, with our friend Liam being the illustrator, who also designs concept for several mechas and beasts seen in the series, along with Wancha focusing on the wonderful acting and art style that the Sonic Kaiju has. Finally, the backdrop was set up by Jason Dewey, who focused more on the sound design aspect of these videos, but still helped to create the spectacle of the shot. Now, moving back to the episode itself, Tails sadly announces that once the Kaiju is killed, yes, the city will be free, but it will be free at the cost of Sonic's life. Of course, it was inevitable that Sonic was gonna die. We really only got to see the true Sonic from the flashback, so we weren't really too accustomed to the Sonic anyways. However, in an all-or-nothing gambit, Knuckles decides to play it risky and attempts to tear out the eyes of the Kaiju or die trying. The rest of the team follows behind. But remember, this is Something About Knuckles, so of course Knuckles is gonna remain as the center focus, with his voices getting even more vicious, and Knuckles attempted to push away further. Amy convinces Knuckles, but not after the voices try pushing Knuckles a bit further, so the gang go into the lair and finally finish this fight, and the eeriness of the scene is just ramped up to a 10. Whoever it may be, Alex Walker or Jason Allen did a pretty good job in making the scene terrific. To make it even worse, we see the withered corpse of the Baron. This build-up finally reaches its breaking point as we see that the Kaiju has been hibernating on top of the castle. Seems kinda insane, but it doesn't really matter as we get into the 3rd phase to the Kaiju. It looks incredible. I'm loving these designs, honestly. Oh yeah, and this incredibly menacing photo shot of the Kaiju was meticulously crafted by both Liam, Dranzer, and Ala Valdez respectively. All 3 of these wonderful artists deserve a shout out, and link to their Twitter accounts will be in the description. Would recommend checking out every single one of them. Oh yeah, and there's a pretty funny tale to go along with this one scene. So we're gonna take a little break from the intense build-up to talk about a fun story. I don't think I could explain it any better than Liam could, so I'll just voice over what he had to say about the behind the scenes. Image 2 of the Kaiju encased in the shades of the crystals was roughed out and connected by me. The premise was that the Kaiju had to block out the light coming in from the hole in the ceiling that he created back in episode 5. The director wanted the monster to be roaming around over the heroes and covering the hole, but I didn't really like the idea of the monster pulling a Looney Tunes act to give reason to why the room has no light. Thus, I consider the idea of the monster going through some form of evaluation state that will transform into the version he is now. At first, I considered a cocoon or a biosac that latched from the ceiling, blocking the light while it evolves. But Ben, the director, wasn't keen on making the monster come off as an alien, so went back to drawing board and came up with the idea of him being encased among the shards that fuses into his body. Thus adds a lot more light once they all light up with a sinister red hue. And now that we have gone over over the incredibly intriguing behind the scenes, we can continue forth onto the video. But just know that we still got a bit more to go through while we continue our dissection. Anyways, the final fight ensues between the Kaiju and our heroes while Tails sticks on the ground after an order by Knuckles. A big majority of this fight was animated by Dranzer, and kudos to you, man, because this animation turned out to be a real treat to see. His amazing talent was able to speed up the production of this final act. I do want to mention Zanny, who helped clean up the animation for this fight sequence, making this all the better, and Jason, who helped out with post-production. Back to the fight, the assault on the Kaiju eventually turns in the Kaiju's favor, but the Kaiju also fell into the trap as Tails comes from below and sends the Kaiju into a fiery pit. This causes both Knuckles and Amy to have an extreme reaction. Amy's strange bloody red background returning and Knuckles' voice is getting increasingly worse. The build-up is getting really crazy, and I'm sure that we'll get a completion of that build-up in the finale. After all, this is something about Knuckles. The Kaiju is not done yet though, as it returns again and transforms into its fourth and most likely final phase, which is just so smooth and sick as fuck that I had to shout at the person who made this. This was also made by the same person who made the animation for the Titan's regenerative abilities. These incredibly smooth scenes belong to Harvey, as the fluidness of this animation really helped bring more of an impact to the regeneration and the beginning of the final phase for the Kaiju. As Liam proclaims, I laid down the foundations of how the animation was going to play out through the animatic, and then Harvey took them and made art. Also, Harvey's Twitter will be in the description as well. Go check it out. Okay, we're finally done carving all the amazing background info about Something About Knuckles, so let's keep on going. With the Kaiju at its final phase and everything set in place, the finale is ready to go, and the long-awaited final battle against the Kaiju begins, along with the finale being announced in the comment section, but later on Twitter. Now, I do actually want to talk about the official promotion that comes onto Twitter. On the morning of the 14th, Something About Knuckles Part 7 was announced for December. Now, there's nothing really of note here except for the banner. We've seen this sort of promotion before, with Something About Amy and Something About Knuckles' first ever episode. Both will be on screen here. However, the difference being that the banner is now moved and is in gold. The finale might actually come out pretty near to the 1-year anniversary of Something About Knuckles, which would be pretty neat. Anyways, now that concludes our dissection of the video. My final video of 2023 is now in production. No theories for Something About Knuckles 7. Sorry, if you want to talk about theories with me, just join my server, which is in the description. However, if Something About Knuckles 7 drops in early December, I guarantee a dissection of that will come, and an early 2024 retrospective of Something About Knuckles as a series that has pretty much impacted me. But for now, all the news you'll get from me is about my final big video of 2023, which will more likely be over 20 to 30 minutes. Thanks for watching. See you soon, hopefully.